Up until now, gaming has been a case of sitting in front of a TV and playing some of the latest and greatest AAA games. But with the rise of VR gaming with the Meta Quest, the Quest 2, and more recently the Quest Pro, VR gaming has been something that really hasn't been all that great. The graphics can't hold up with flagship consoles like PlayStation or Xbox, and the controls at times can be a little unreliable. That is, until the PS VR 2 landed on my door. Now, honestly, I thought this is something that would be an enormous waste of money, but my oh my. So if you are sitting on the fence and wondering if the PS VR 2 is worth it, here are 5 incredible ways the PS VR 2 is completely changing the VR gaming world. The first game I wanted to try out on my PSVR 2 was Horizon Call of the Mountain. And the first thing that stood out for me was how Sony have absolutely nailed eye tracking to let you navigate. There's no more pointing and clicking, there's no more hovering and waiting a few seconds for it to select something. You can simply look at the menu item you want to select and then press a button on your controller to select it. It's so hard to describe here, but this feels so much more natural to me than having to physically turn your head to point at the thing you want to select, make sure it's in the center of your screen, and with some games you even then have to wait a few seconds to pause over that button before it then selects it. Now, even though the Quest Pro has eye tracking, I've not seen any game that works like this. It is really, really unique and only seems to be used for their metaverse experience on the Quest Pro to make the cartoony characters seem, more lifelike when speaking to each other. But being able to just look in the right area and tap a button makes browsing through menus fast and an effortless experience. The second is force feedback. Now, this is something I wasn't expecting at all, and without going the full kind of Ready Player One experience with a haptic bodysuit, it is hard to imagine why other headsets haven't implemented this feature yet. But a few seconds in on Horizon Call of the Mountain on the PSVR 2, and you can actually feel the environment around you, and particularly with these big T-Rex robot dinosaurs, as they walk around you where your whole head rumbles, as it would, of course, when faced with a mechanical monster like that. You can even see the shake of the headset on the recordings here as well. And having what I would say is PlayStation's best of breed force feedback in the controllers as well as the headset, it just pushes the immersive gaming experience, particularly the VR gaming experience, into more of a 4D space as you can look and actually feel what's going on around you in real time. Now, the next one for me, if you're already a PS5 player, then you'll know that the adaptive triggers plays a huge part in what makes the PS5 controllers great. Now, with the PSVR 2, you get hair triggers for any first-person shooter games. You can feel as the string tightens up on the bow and arrow as you pull it and then release it, and you can feel the throttle in racing games. Honestly, the resistance that this gives you as you switch between games is absolutely spot on. Now, if you played anything like Astro on the PS5, then you'll know how well Sony can translate sensations such as, walking on ice or glass, just feeling that little bit more realistic, even when playing through, a plastic controller built of metal and plastic, and they've done an incredible job bringing this to the PSVR 2 as well. Number 4, and this is where PSVR 2 really stands out for me. Now, for the first time in a very long time, we have what I would call AAA games in VR. From the likes of Gran Turismo 7, which is just incredible. I just wish I had this full steering wheel set up to experience it as realistically as possible. To yes, games like Horizon, which were built to show off PSVR 2's capabilities, and now with plenty of rumours which have the gaming world spinning with your thoughts of titles like Half-Life Alyx coming to PSVR 2, which I really hope is true. It seems that game makers are finally starting to pay attention to this new generation of games. Now, yes, we've still got all of the usual VR suspects like Pistol Whip and Beat Saber, Moss and No Man's Sky, all of those kind of things still there. But I'm now very, very hopeful that as this year goes on, we're going to start seeing some surprises cropping up that none of us have expected. And then number 5, it is all about the insane level of graphics quality. Now, I know we have great graphics with other headsets, particularly the headsets you wire into full-on PC gaming rigs. Like Half-Life Alyx is probably the most visually impressive game that I've seen so far in VR. But unless you have access to a hugely powerful gaming rig, then your experience is going to suffer from performance issues and lag, and an overall one that did leave me thinking, wow, it was amazing, but was also hampered when you experience issues with hand tracking or glitchy graphics. Now, with the PSVR 2, you get buttery smooth 120Hz refresh rates compared to a 90Hz refresh rate on the MetaQuest Pro's flagship headset, which also costs more, by the way. You're also getting 4K OLED HDR on each eye compared to a much lower resolution and quality of the Quest Pro. And that's the Quest Pro, which isn't even a gaming headset. It's more for productivity and metaverse stuff. Now, compare it to the admittedly much cheaper, but also much lower quality Quest 2, and the gap is even wider. Now, I found the game's far more immersive on the PSVR 2 because you can't see the world around you. The headset does a really great job at blocking out all the light from anywhere else, but you can still tap a button to have pass-through mode, which unfortunately still isn't good enough to, read messages on your mobile phone without taking it off. But the games I've experienced so far on the PSVR 2 have been incredible. You've got smooth performance, and the quality is something I have just not seen before. Check out these scenes and the glare that you get when looking at the sun, and as you move your hands in the way and then as it pops through each finger as you move them. It is so good. And the only drawbacks I can find at the moment is that by the time you've bought, a PSVR 2 plus a PS5, you've spent $1,000 already. But considering a Quest Pro is $1,500, and I would say is less technically advanced than the PSVR 2, I think 2023 is going to be a very, very interesting year where we're going to see some real progress in the VR space.